Hey everyone, Melissa Wick here. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining me. This is a delicious, nourishing class where we will fully focus on opening the hips deeply. So it's a slow practice where we get to hold the postures. We will support ourselves if you have blocks, awesome to have, or bolster or pillows, couch cushions. If you have a couple blankets, that might be very helpful, especially for one of the postures, or a couple towels, something that you could use as padding for the knees. If you have sensitivities to the wrists, this is a good class for you. There are no down dogs, no standing postures, no planks, chaturangas. So get into something really comfortable and let's get this practice started. Let's start our practice today in child's pose. So come to your knees. If you need to pad up your knees with a blanket, please do so. We'll start with the toes touching, knees wide, and melt your forehead and chest down towards the mat. You can let your elbows be soft here if you'd like. You can always bring a bolster in front of your chest here for some support, or bring a block to your forehead. Take a couple breaths together here just to fully arrive. So a big inhale through the nose, let your belly and your chest inflate. And a big exhale through the mouth. One more like this, fully inhale. And let it go. And return to the natural cadence of your breath, softening your fingers. With every exhale, just let your hips sink a little more towards the ground. Inviting in smooth inhalations and exhalations, and allowing your breath to travel not only in your chest but also in your belly. So let your belly be a belly. So when you inhale, let it fully expand, let your chest expand. And as you exhale, there's a softening that's happening. We're setting the tone for our practice. Inviting in the universal field of relaxation. As you inhale, you may even feel your breath expand to the back of the lungs and the back of the heart, creating space in the whole body. Just take about 5 more deep breaths here. Good, and then we'll start to extend the arms out long, tent up onto the fingertips so your wrists and your elbows and your underarms are lifted. Glide the shoulders down toward your heels. Just find a bit of a long spine. You can lift your forehead off the mat if that feels good. Good, and then release. We'll walk the hands close to our body, lift the chest up. And slowly we'll come to stand on the knees. And we'll step our right foot forward towards a lunge shape. So stepping it forward. Now here, You may want to use blocks, you may not. Maybe have them close by. So we're going to start here with the left knee on the ground. You can always fold in your mat if this is a little hard on the knee, or bring your blanket under the knee. And we'll start here by hinging the hips forward. Energetically here, the right hip is gently pulling back and the left hip forward, so you'll find this scissoring action in the hips. We'll take the hands down and bring the arms on the inside of the right leg, heel toe your right foot out to the right to create more space for your chest to come through. Now, you can turn your toes slightly out on an angle towards the top right corner of your mat. This is option one. You can stay right here, softening the shoulders. This is already quite a lot. We'll be holding this for a bit. Option two, if you'd like, you can come onto the left hand and take your right hand and push the right thigh bone away, coming onto the outer edge of your right foot. And you're also inviting in a gentle twist. Option three, you can bring that foot back down with the toes out on an angle, or you can keep the leg straight. So you can really play around. Facing forward is what I mean by straight. Play around with what is the best for you. You can take your blocks and come onto your forearms here if you have more space. If you're really open in the hip flexors and the psoas, you can come onto your forearms without the blocks. Now just keep in mind here, you want to be able to still have integrity in your breath. So if you're at your maximum edge and you can barely breathe, then you've gone too far. So you want to be really sweet with your edge, that fine line between, it's a little uncomfortable, but I could stay here and breathe through it. So you're breathing deeply into your hips, into your psoas, your hip flexors, the front of the left thigh. You might even feel a stretch in your quad. Just steady your gaze on one point. That'll help with your mind bouncing all over the place and wondering when we're coming out of this shape. And soften any gripping around the areas where it feels uncomfortable. So if you're in a twist, just come back with your hands down. We're going to heel toe the right foot back into the center. And you can stay right here. Hands could be on blocks as well. This is also a different subtle sensation here. If this is enough, stay here. If you'd like a little more, come to bring your hands onto your thighs. You can interlace them and push the hands down. Or if that's kind of too much pressure on the wrists, you can just stack one hand on top of the other. And you're finding this pushing down action with your hands and finding a lift in your chest as your hips sink forward, but the right hip's pulling back, the left hip is drawing forward. That's the feel of it. So your tailbone is still lengthening downwards, so there's a gentle zipping in of the belly just to protect your lower back. So the idea is to have the chest a little higher here. I'm really feeling this. Let's gently release. Take the hands down. You want to heel toe your right foot all the way to the left. You can always like scoot your left knee in if it's starting to get a little uncomfortable. And the idea is to sit on your right thigh. Okay, so let your outer right thigh come down and your inner left leg come down to the ground. So you're in a pinwheel shape. Before we get into deer pose, we're going to prep first for that. So it's all right if they're not two right angles. Here, we're going to take our right hand down to the ground just for support. We're going to take our left hand to our left waist, to our hip, and we're just going to make sure your knee's on the mat so it doesn't hurt. And you're just going to take your left hand and guide that left hip forward toward the right, and then release it. So just gently guiding it forward and release. So this is just loosening up the inside of that left hip there. Sometimes it could be pretty tight. And here, when you go forward, think you're on, and when you go back, you're off. You relax. So on and off, relax. On and off. So just playing back and forth like this, you're going to slowly start to feel over time the hip will start to release. If you're doing this gently, you're not pushing through it. Good, and then once you feel like you've opened it up and loosened it up a little bit here, we're going to invite in a short twist. So the left hand will come to the right thigh or the knee. The right hand just comes behind you and you're twisting to the right. Try not to lean too far forward or too far back. Keep the torso stacked over the hips. So this might also invite in some more opening in the left inner hip. And release. Now we'll prepare for our deer pose. So you want to have the right foot ankle is flexed, so toes toward the knee. And you want to bring your right shin parallel to the top of the mat. And then the idea is to have the left shin parallel to the left side of your mat, but if that's not feeling good, you can always just bend it in a little more. Now here, if you need to sit up on a block or prop like a blanket underneath your right glute for more support, you can do that. Now you can stay upright here if this is enough already, or you could start to fold forward. You'll feel where that resistance starts to come in. That's when you stop and you start to settle into your breath. You can always use your props here. If you have two blocks, maybe you build a tower for your forehead. If you're really open in your hips, you can start to lean and fold toward that right foot that's flexed. You might feel more in your glute. Making sure both toes are flexing toward the knees to protect. So you find your spot here, support, get creative. And again, let your belly be a belly. So the breath is really going to help you access that place of ease and opening. You're moving through the layers of tension. Soften the jaw and have the courage to just stay with it. Good. Let's bring our hands onto the mat. I'm just going to face you. So from here, we're going to come into cow facing pose, Gomukhasana. So you're going to swing the left leg forward and around all the way and cross it on top of the right. Now you may be right here with the knees apart, and that's totally fine. Eventually the hips will relax. If this is just really tight, take a block, bolster, pillows, and sit your bum up. So this will find a bit more ease. If you're feeling a little more open, you can work to slide that left leg more on top of the right and walk the feet apart here. So eventually maybe the knees will stack. Not necessary, but that's kind of the full expression of the pose. So here, it's all right if your feet are in more, closer to you. You have options to take your hands and hold on to your feet. Sometimes it's really grounding and soothing. You can always take your thumb and give your feet a little foot massage as well. Nice notion of self-care. Or your hands could stay on the ground. Or you can start to walk the hands forward and find a fold. You could release your chin in for this variation and invite in a gentle rounding in the back. You can get creative and use your blocks maybe for your hands if the floor is too far for you. You can always use blocks to support your forehead. So lots of expressions here. You get to choose, play around, see what works for you. And then we go inward. Closing the eyes really helps. And just staying present with your experience. And filling up your entire body and being with your nourishing breath. Rather than going around and trying to avoid the tension and the density, see if you could go right to the source of it and imagine just the whole body softening. And your experience will follow your thought. So notice where your awareness goes. All right, let's start to make our way out of this shape. We're going to come into a counter stretch. So the left leg is going to swing back around behind. There's no right or wrong here for the legs, so you're back in the pinwheel. Press your right hand down into the ground and lift your hips, push them forward and up, and just open up here. Maybe the left arm opens up. You can hold on to the back of your neck. You're just opening up the whole front side body, releasing the hip flexors. And then gently release. Swing both legs back forward. We're going to come into Baddha Konasana. So this is called butterfly in English. The soles of the feet come together to touch. Again, you can slide a blanket to lift your hips up if you're feeling like you're way back here. That'll help. And over time, you don't have to use the blanket, but it's still really nice. So the feet touch. You can have your thumbs on the inside of your foot here, wrapping your rest of the hands, the fingers around the top of the foot. And you can start to push your elbows into the inner legs and fold here. If that's just not happening, no problem. Again, you can use blocks to stack here to support the forehead as you fold. You just simply round here, chin draws in, and over time with your breath, your body will ease. It takes the time that it takes. Just tune into your full breath. And you may even try longer exhalations. That really helps to soothe and calm the body and the mind. Good, let's start to make our way out of the shape. Grab onto your ankles. And we're just going to press onto the ankles and start to draw the chest forward, opening up the chest. Just a little counter stretch. Good, release. We close up the legs, assist your hands to your legs. And we're going to make our way back onto our knees. Blocks back to the front if you have them. Scooch back on your mat. We get to do the sequence all on the other side, so we're balanced out. So we'll step the left foot forward this time. We'll start to find a hinge right away. The left hip energetically is pulling back. So you find the scissoring action in the hips. Your hands come down. Take them on the inside of the left leg. Heel toe your left foot out to the left. Make space for your chest. Pad up your right knee if you need to. Use a blanket or fold your mat in. Option 1, toes and knee are facing forward. Hands could just be here or even on blocks. Soften the shoulders. Option 2, left toes fan out to the left. And you can come onto the outer edge of your left foot. You can take your left hand to your left thigh and gently push away and stay right here. Option 3, you can bring your blocks, come onto your forearms, either toes out or hug in. All slightly different sensations. As if you can practice this class more than one time, you can play around with all the different variations. See which one is best for you on that day. So here we tune in to our breath again, which is our access point, our bridge between the outside stimulation and for us to go deeper into our inner world. And we pay attention to the subtleties. We stay present with our experience. So that way, the asana, the postures become so much more potent when we stay tethered to our experience rather than checking out and wondering about other things. All right, so from here, we're gonna heel toe that left foot back into the center. This may be where you stay here, or with your ankle under your knee, you come to lift your chest up. You can interlace the fingers and push down on your left thigh, or just stack the hands. Left hip's drawing back. As you push down, you find a lift in the chest. Your tailbone's lengthening down here. You'll feel a slight zip in of the belly. You can even engage the right glute if you need more stability. That'll also, you might find some more opening in the right hip flexor. So you can play with engaging the right glute and softening it. All right, let's release. We'll take the hands down and start to heel toe your left foot all the way over to the right. Take that left hip down and bend your right knee out to the right. So before we go into deer pose, we're gonna open up. We're in the pinwheel shape. So the outer left thigh is down. The inner right thigh is down. Slide cushions or blankets underneath the spots where there's some space and you feel you can use some height. Left hand comes to the side just for support. Right hand comes to your right hip. And we're gonna play here with the on and off. So make sure your knees are supported so they're not rubbing against the floor. So you're gonna tilt your right hip forward. You're gonna roll it forward. That right hand is guiding you. And then you release it down. So when you come forward, that's on. When you're down, that's off. Relax. On and off. You can really feel the tightness right in that spot in the hip flexor here on the inner hip. If you feel sharp pain in your knees, then this may not be the posture for you. You want to make sure your knees feel okay. So you can explore a little longer in spots where it feels tight. And then we're going to start to add in that, quick twist. So the right hand will come to the left thigh. The left hand comes behind for support. You're twisting to the left, opening the chest here, torso stacked over the hips. And we'll gently release and prepare for our deer pose. So the left shin comes parallel to the top of your mat. Left foot is flexed. And flex your right foot here. You can decide a comfortable spot for your right leg. Maybe you grab your props and your blocks. You can stay upright here. Or if you want to fold, you can fold either just straight down. You can also fold toward the left foot that's flexed. You might feel a little more sensation in the hip. Use your props for support. Maybe you just hold on to them here. Maybe you stack your forehead. Get creative here. And once you found your spot, tune in to your breath. Let that be your guide to that place of deep ease and softness. All right, we'll start to make our way out and we'll prepare for cow facing pose, Gomukhasana. You're gonna take your right leg and swing it all the way forward and on top of the left. Adjust your sit bones. You can prop your hips up, perfectly okay. You may stay right here and that's great. One side may feel totally different than the other, so no judgment. It just is what it is. That's why we're doing this practice, so we can allow them to release. So you could hug and shimmy the legs a little closer if you have the space. The more you walk your feet apart, the deeper it's going to be. Don't be shy to use your props. They are an awesome tool to bring the floor to you. It just supports the body to relax more by bringing the floor to you. So here, either hands onto your feet, the ground. You can stay upright, closing your eyes. You can find a fold, releasing your head. Stack the forehead. Maybe hands just on the blocks, that might be comforting. Once you found your spot, you can always change your mind too. Start to reestablish the connection with your breath if you've lost it. And just take a scan throughout your body. Just notice where you may be gripping. Sometimes we transfer the tension to the shoulders or the jaw unconsciously, or we're still kind of gripping in some spots in the hips, just holding on. With every exhale, can you let go? And it's a beautiful practice to transfer off of the mat and into your life. Rather than avoiding uncomfortable situations, can you find the courage to step into them, to face them, to deal with it? We're going to make our way out of this shape. And we'll come into a nice counter stretch. Props aside. You're going to take your right leg and swing it back behind you in that pinwheel shape. And your left hand stays down. You're just going to push into the hand and lift the hips forward, no right or wrong. Just to reach the right arm up, maybe hold on to your neck and just expand in the front body. Good stretch. And release it down. Okay, the next shape can be a little intense. Just gonna warn you, but it's so good. This is the one where we may need both blankets. We want to pad up the knees. This is called frog pose. So you're gonna come onto your knees, and I'm gonna use the padding of my mat. So I'm gonna fold one end in and the other end in and in. If you have a bolster, the bolster might be very beneficial in this shape, something that you can lay on. So you're coming onto your knees to start. Blocks maybe are close by. And from here, we start to open the knees out to the side. You're walking the knees out. And once you get to a spot where you could turn the toes out so the inner arches of the feet are parallel to the ground. I don't know if you can see. And this is where you might put the blankets under your knees. So we're going to start to go as far down as it feels okay here. We're going to be holding for some time, so you don't want to go maximum edge. The idea is to have your ankles in line with the knees and your hips, your torso, in line with the knees. So you don't want to go too far forward or too far back. You want to keep that in line. Feet are flexed to protect your knees. From here, if you have a bolster, you can slide a bolster in front of you and lay on it. That would be nice and supportive. If you don't have a bolster, no problem. You can just come onto your forearms. Maybe you use your blocks to stack your forehead on. If you're pretty open here, feel free to come all the way down onto your belly. Make sure that you could still breathe with ease. That's the key. So get comfortable here and tune into your breath. That'll help you find the ease. Stay with your experience. One breath at a time. Relax the fingers, relax the jaw, relax the shoulders. Know that you're okay and that this too shall pass. All right, let's make our way out of the frog shape. Be careful as you come out of the shape. Two ways. You could just come onto your belly and bring your hips forward and close up the legs, or you can come onto your hands. Use your arm strength to lift the hips up and slide the knees together. No rush to come out. Once you're out, just bringing the legs together. Sit here for a moment with yourself on the knees here. We're going to make our way onto our backs. We are almost complete. So lay all the way down. And we'll come into a happy baby shape. So we'll bring the knees in toward us. Arms will come on the inside of the legs. Flex the feet again. Bring your ankles toward the knees like it's stacked in line as if you're squatting against the sky, the ceiling. Take your hands and either grab your calves or your ankles, or even just the backs of the thighs is fine. Or the outer edges of the feet, or peace fingers and thumb hook around your big toe. This is the last shape before we get to rest and absorb. So you can be still here, or you can sway from side to side. Relax the shoulders, back of the neck long. Let your tailbone be heavy toward the mat. You're going to release your baby. Take your legs in completely together, wrapping your arms around your shins. Using your biceps, just hug the knees in toward you. Just feel that compression in the hip flexors. And we'll prepare for our final shape. So we'll just lift our forehead and chest and shoulders off the mat, just drawing in to a tiny seed. When you're ready, release into Savasana, extending the legs out long. You can slide a couple blocks underneath the backs of the thighs, one and one, or slide a bolster underneath the knees, backs of the knees, or just be straight out long. Maybe lift and shimmy your shoulders in, adjust, give your hips a little wiggle. Make the adjustment to be comfortable. So if you need to get up and grab socks or cover yourself up, go for it, because you want to be able to fully relax in Savasana. But once you found your spot, you can close the eyes. You can take a cleansing breath if that'll help you release, so you can fully inhale. Fully exhale, let it go. You made it all the way through. There is nothing left for you to do. Just let your entire body be supported by the earth, by the ground. Think heavy, heavy bones. And just know that the more you can relax, the more you are supported. And the more you relax, the more you are held. And let yourself bathe in your light here as you receive all of your efforts. Let your prana, your life force, organize itself into balance. Noticing what it feels like to be at home in the center of your multidimensional being. And know that you always, always have access to this. You can slowly and gently begin your return by deepening your breath. Bringing some movement back to the body. Maybe you move your fingers, your wrists, your toes, whatever way you like to move. Bring your arms up overhead for a big stretch. Stirring the body into wakefulness. Take your knees in toward you. Give yourself a good hug. Acknowledge your efforts. And you can roll to one side, any side. Let your bottom arm be long. Rest your ear on your bicep. Take this moment to tune into gratitude. Gratitude for your practice, for taking this time or carving out this time here for yourself. Let yourself slow down, be with your body, be with your soul. And gratitude for all of our resources in this life. And gratitude for our sacred lives. And in your own time, we'll lift ourselves up to a seat, whatever seat's comfortable for you. And we'll bring our palms to touch in front of our heart space, a slight bow in of the chin. Enjoy these moments here with your breath in stillness. And just simply notice how you're feeling. From the eye of the witness, there's no judgment. How is your energy? How does your body feel? How are you experiencing your mind? How does your heart feel? Is there a connection there? I thank you so much for your trust and for sharing your practice with me. From my heart to yours, namaste.